I miss all of y'all. All y'all girls standing together like that. I can't take it.
Hi.
Hi.
So I introduced you as Haven Beauty, but turns out it's actually,
We work with a family.
okay. Is that what you call them? The family? Is it like the mob? Like the family.
I cannot.
I'm just kidding.
no.
I'm just kidding. All right, we're not going to talk about the family.
The family.
So Erin, tell me. I know that you had this point of view yesterday because we were talking a lot about in the town halls about Facebook, and everyone loves Facebook, and everybody's obsessed with Facebook in this room. But you've kind of made it a point to really sort of figure out where social fits in, and your argument has been that you should not really be including Facebook because Facebook is, for all intents and purposes, a paid channel.
Yeah, I mean, so I have a lot of points of view. I have a feeling most of you would not argue with that. But when it comes to Facebook, I think that they've shifted a lot. I had a conversation with a couple of people last night that they once were a social network, but now they've become an extremely efficient ad network. And you can get great CTR, you can get great CPM rates, much better than Twitter. But they haven't really embraced their initial roots of being social. So I think that's going to be an interesting thing for them long term because I'm using them. They're my most efficient buy right now. Twitter and Instagram didn't perform very well. It's performing better than Google for us long term in our attribution plans. But as a social network, our engagement has done nothing but go down. Our organic reach, except for when something happens with one of the family members, our organic reach is also really down. So it's kind of interesting to me. I'm not sure if that platform is going to stay as a social network anymore, as much as it's almost replacing itself as like an internet destination.
Okay. What is social's role for you then as like a commerce platform?
I think social has a lot of different things. I don't see social necessarily as a commerce platform as I see it as a piece of, I look at social as its own media plan. So a lot of people look at a media plan and see social as a line item, and they're like, okay, we're gonna put this much in Facebook, we're gonna put this in there, we're gonna do this. I look at social itself as its own media plan. So the way that I look at social is, from a path to purchase perspective, it's crucial for discovery. The path to purchase today is like a pinball machine. So one place that we know most people are spending their time is in social networks, so you kind of need to be there. From a conversion ROI perspective, I don't think it's fair to measure true social. Obviously, paid social is different on the same metrics, because if you're turning it into marketing, you're kind of killing the spirit of social. But I think social as an experience from a commerce perspective is really where it's going to be able to shine if you tap that correctly. So whether that's bringing, in my space, for the guys that don't wear makeup in the room, in case you didn't know, lipstick looks extremely different on every single girl. So how it looks on me versus how it looks on Shireen, versus how it looks on Aubrey, versus anybody in this room, it'll look different. So the beauty to social for my industry is I can put pictures of girls on my site, and they can see how it looks on someone maybe with a similar skin tone or a similar look and feel, so that they know that that color is going to look different on them as the pigment takes in. I think also from an experience perspective, product. I think Into the Glossier has done a great job of being able to make social about them, but yet not be selfish. And they've used it as product development, they've used it as research, they've used it as a means to kind of improve themselves. So I think the experience from in-store all the way to e-commerce can really benefit from leveraging social entirely.
Yeah, and going back though to for example, the user-generated images and so on, how has that worked out? Because I know that, who was talking about it this morning? I think it was someone from Wet Seal or J Brand, but they were talking about how they sort of did something similar with their clothing. Pulling that data in seems like a good idea, but I'm actually surprised more people haven't done it. Why do you think more people haven't done it?
I think
It feels like the missed sorry, it feels.
I think it's like a missed opportunity on a lot of levels. I think there's a barrier to entry, right? So when you look at your budgets at a big company, it's like, oh, we didn't include Olapic or Spreadfast or Correlate in our plans, so we can't do it. And I think that that's a big miss on a lot of companies to not be able to have the ability to pivot in their budgets or have an ability to do what I call like an R&D social plan. I don't know why people aren't doing it. I think that there's a level of legal fears. So for those of you not familiar, if you're taking images and if you have a lot of lawyers involved in your business, they get really concerned that you're using them to promote product on site. So therefore, you have to make sure you have the right rights, that the person has given you, their whole life away, basically. But the platforms are automating that, which is really helpful. So I'm not sure why more people aren't doing it, but I do think people need to look at it not as a means to just throw users' faces on your site, but find a means to make it meaningful to them, right? So if and when we're doing this, the plan is to make it relevant to each product and have really easy to use user experiences on the site so that when you're looking at a specific product that we're launching, only those kind of photos are there, right? So you can see that, trying to make it even more curated so that if you go to a foundation page, you're not looking at a bunch of pictures of a girl's lipstick on, right? Okay. So it does take a lot of resources and time, and I think the resources is the thing that scares a lot of people from doing it. Social's hard work. If you're truly being social, it's hard work. Yeah. Just like being social at a party. You can't sit in the corner and be social. So if you think you're gonna programmatically just plan social, it's not gonna work. So it's the same thing with these things. It takes a lot of resources and it takes a lot of time.
Mm-hmm. When, but then going back to the legal thing, I heard it was maybe at Southwest Airlines, was like, you know, the best thing we ever did was getting social media to sit next to the lawyers. Like they literally picked up their desks and moved them. How has that changed the way you're internally structured?
I'm very lucky we don't have internal lawyers, but there are a lot of lawyers in my life. Most of them have been really helpful.
What's going on with you, Erin?
There's a lot of lawyers involved in business from beginning to end, but we've lucked out that we've found some lawyers that are, I don't know how to put this, but they've got some millennial lawyers involved with what we do, so they understand. Because there's literally lawyers I've spoken to who are like, I don't have the Instagrams, I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, oh, so this is gonna be a great conversation because you have no idea what I mean. So they've actually, I've got a couple partners who've been great at having like a real conversation with me about it. But it does help. When I was in entertainment, we had this challenge, but there was a lawyer that once I could sit him down and we just started having hand-to-hand conversations, like one-on-one, like, see this? See how this person made this meme? Can I use this? Well, is it their intellectual property? I'm like, well, see, the way it works is, see the share button? All that sits under the terms of service of Facebook or the terms of service of Instagram. So why can't I just share that to my page? Well, what if they sue us for, you know, we stole their intellectual property? And I'm like, this is, it was an education process, but once we had that and we had weekly meetings, it did help it. But yeah, intellectual property is a lot.
And then when you're talking about social, say we go back to the whole Facebook idea, and using it purely sort of from like a sales perspective.
Yeah.
Again, coming back to branding versus e-commerce, what's the battle?
Well, for me, I think social's role falls more into branding. I think it'll spill over into e-commerce. One of the best examples I gave people used to be when I was in entertainment, and I got a lot of pressure, you know, drive tune in, you know, put the key art up, do this. And I kept saying to people, I'm like, do you really think people wake up and like a show that they're not fucking watching? Do you think that they go on Facebook and they're like, I just want to like some shows, spend some time on there, have no idea what the plot is, don't know these guys, but I'm going to do this. Most of the people who are liking your brands are probably already buying, so you have to look at it as a means of a different type of customer. If you're only talking about yourself and you're not showing any other value, I think people are going to leave. No one wakes up in the morning and says, I haven't liked a deodorant brand in a while. Let me go find one.
But beyond the like, I mean, going into the promoted posts and, you know, the way you're targeting probably the customer who's not your customer yet, or the potential customer, where does that fit in then? Oh,
I think that goes back to the Facebook element. So I think Facebook has a huge opportunity as it is one of the most efficient ad networks right now. How long that can last and how long users are okay with that, I don't know, but that's what we use it for right now. I get great ad metrics and benefits, but I look at that very differently. Those KPIs sit over in this box. The content that is driving to my site sits in this box. Anything that has a purpose of conversion sits over here. And then anything that's what I call pure social, engagement-based, user-based, product development, the conversation, the actual like multiple personalities of my brand sits over here, and it gets measured completely differently.
Okay, that makes sense. What does your mobile commerce strategy look like? And
if my agency was here, they'd all roll their eyes. They hear from me on a weekly basis. I swear a lot. I don't give a shit. What's it look like on the phone? They always send me these big, beautiful things, and I'm like, I keep telling them.
Are they PowerPoint decks?
Oh, God, you know how I feel about PowerPoint decks. They send me these designs, and I have a huge screen in my office, and I tell everyone, I'm like, I want to spend one day a week, Mondays is the day, because it goes with mobile, that only looking at creative can happen on our phone. Because everyone sits at this desk with this big screen, and they all look at it and they're like, oh, this is beautiful. I love it. Let's make it mobile. And they do this, and no one starts here, no one thinks here. We're actually in the middle of a wireframing and massive design change, and we had a meeting yesterday, and that was one of the things I brought up. I said, this is too many levels down for a mobile person. You're expecting 12 clicks before they can get to a purchase. We need to revise it, and you need to start mobile, and then come back to me. So for me, you have to think about the mobile design first, especially with my consumer. So you guys know, right now, 85% of my visitors are mobile. So we have to be thinking that way first.
Yeah, that makes sense. What do you think sort of where that place of that person or that social person is? Because I know you've usually talked about, I think people talk about it being in PR, being in marketing,
Oh, that's
or sitting on their own,
Yeah.
in like a dark cabinet somewhere.
I think social, one of the arguments I have a lot of times during budget meetings and during hiring meetings is that I feel social spans all of that. I think instead of trying to shoehorn social into PR or marketing or the e-com team, you actually need to redefine those hired departments. I think that marketing is no longer what it once was, and it needs to span an organization differently. And I think social is a part of that. And I think if you end up jockeying for control of social, you're actually going to water down your social to make it on your terms and what you want with your agenda. And you're going to miss all the vast opportunities social gives, like product development, customer service, the experience from e-com to in-store, in addition to being a PR channel, in addition to being a marketing channel.
But then from a budget standpoint, it's like you can't really have that happen. It sounds good in theory.
Oh, everything sounds good in theory.
It's a great theory, but what happens in reality?
I'm very lucky that I'm in those discussions right now because they have social sitting across only the e-commerce line item right now, and I keep explaining to them, I'm like, this is important to retail, this is important to the brand, this is important to journalists, this is important to everybody. It can't sit against one P&L, and we're actually trying to work, and I'm lucky I'm in a very agile environment in my current situation. I know not everyone is, but we're actually looking to re-look and distribute our budgets differently from a P&L perspective to allow for these things, because they do all influence each other.
Okay.
It's not fair to silo them.
Where about the content and commerce bit then? Because that's, I think it's a very similar debate that I hear about. Yeah.
I have this thing that my team hears me say all the time. I call it my angel and my devil. And they literally hear me talk them out in our status meetings sometimes.
Wait, so you're talking to yourself?
Yeah, I talk to myself all the time.
Okay.
I admit it. And I'm like, okay, so the angel is the social purist, right? And the devil is the marketer. And having grown up the marketing chain, I obviously always want my logo to be bigger. I want it to be about driving site. I want it to be about conversion. But the consumer in me is like, would I want to see that in my feed? Do I give a shit? Like, would I want that? And I have to balance those. And a lot of times I ask my team to be the angel and to push me and to make me uncomfortable because that's what we have to do to really break through in social. It's probably a little bit more uncomfortable than we're used to in marketing.
How big is your team? You can talk about your team.
Well, it's all outsourced right now for the majority. I've got a team of about 5 social people. I've got 4 in the dev email world. And then I've got like 2 that kind of rotate between.
Okay. Right before we break for questions, one more last one. What is the one social platform that you think everybody's really gung-ho on right now, but it's going to be dead in the water by next year?
Dead in the water.
Just dead.
Oh, what don't I have stock in? No, I'm just kidding. I think Twitter's in real trouble, but I don't think everyone's got a lot of stock. I don't think a lot of people have focus in it, but
resources towards it.
Twitter has to figure itself out quickly.
What about Periscope, though? Are you counting Periscope in
I count that in that it's the same with Vine. They're kind of in there together. But I think Twitter's got some serious difficulties. It's funny. I just had a conversation with my brother who is like, Periscope's the best thing in the world. I'm like, well, Snapchat can do a lot of this, and Facebook just introduced it, and they have to learn to broaden that to more people and get people to want to go there. I just think the platform hasn't evolved since it kind of launched, and they've got some changes to make.
Absolutely. We've got 30 seconds for questions. Anybody got any? Everyone's just blown away by you.
Everyone's like, I'm hungry. Get off the stage.
No, everyone's blown away by us. Go with that.
All right. I like
okay. Well, Erin.
Oh, wait, there's one.
There's a question.
That's exciting.
Carl is coming towards you.
You briefly mentioned Snapchat. I just wanted to see how you built that into your plan for this year, and especially with engagement, and if you have any stats or discussions on that through your marketing.
Snapchat specifically? I'm very bullish on Snapchat. I did an interview with the Digiday about 1.5 years ago about Snapchat, I think it's going to be one of the most important platforms for commerce and retail in the future if they, as a product, figure out how to integrate commerce and shopping and affiliate into what they do. I think Snapchat can be huge. I wanted to be on it this year. Resources and budget didn't allow it. Everything takes a lot of resources in social. It's a new channel to completely program. But my goal is to be on it this year and hopefully play with some of that stuff that I was just talking about. But I think Snapchat has uniquely changed what you can do from an advertising perspective. The question will remain if they will stay true to that or if they will fall into the same foot that both Twitter and Facebook did, which is just becoming another ad network.
Cool. Awesome. Erin, thank you so much. You were great.
Hi, guys.
All right.